Everyone around you has forgotten, not slowly, not gradually, all at once, like a light switching off. The world didn't end with fire or flood, it ended with a screen, and then another screen, and then a screen so seamlessly woven into every waking moment that nobody noticed when reality and simulation stopped being two different things. But you remember what it felt like before. Let's go back. It's a Saturday morning sometime around 2003. You wake up, not to a notification, not to an alarm synced to your sleep cycle, not to an AI whispering your schedule into your ear. You wake up because sunlight came through a window, because your body decided it was time. You walk to the kitchen. The house is quiet in a way that no house is quiet anymore. Not silent. You can hear birds, a lawnmower 2 streets over, someone's dad washing a car in a driveway. Real sounds, unrecorded sounds. Sounds that existed only for the people who were there to hear them. Nobody filmed it, nobody posted it. It happened, it mattered, and then it was gone, the way almost everything used to be. You pour cereal, you sit, you do nothing. And here's the thing nobody talks about anymore, that nothing felt like something, that sitting at a kitchen table with your own thoughts, with no feed to scroll, no content to consume, no metric measuring how long you'd been stationary, that was an entire inner world. Rich, quiet, and completely your own. In 2004, the average American spent roughly 2 hours a day consuming media, television, radio, newspapers. 2 hours. That was considered a lot. Today, that number is over 13 hours. 13 hours, more than half of every waking day, spent consuming things other people made, other people thought, other people felt, fed to you by an algorithm that learned, within weeks of meeting you, exactly which emotions keep your thumb from moving. But back then, boredom wasn't a problem to be solved. It was a doorway. You got bored, and then something happened inside you. An idea appeared. A memory surfaced. You decided to call someone, not because you saw their highlight reel and felt obligated, but because you genuinely wondered how they were. You picked up a phone that was attached to a wall and you talked. No camera, no record, just two voices. And when you hung up, it was gone. That conversation existed only in two people's memories. It wasn't stored, wasn't analyzed, wasn't used to sell you something 3 days later. It was just real. You remember what faces looked like before people learned to perform them. Photographs were rare enough that they mattered. A disposable camera at a birthday party, 27 shots. You didn't know if they came out until 2 weeks later when someone picked up the prints from a pharmacy. And when they were bad, blurry, eyes closed, half a head cut off, you laughed. Because the memory was the point. The photo was just a souvenir. Nobody posed. Nobody had a good side. Nobody held the camera at an angle and waited until the light was right and their expression was exactly the version of themselves they wanted the world to believe they were. They just stood there, alive, imperfect, completely, unself-consciously present. You remember what that presence felt like. You remember standing in a crowd at a concert, no phones raised above heads, no screens between you and the stage, just bodies and sound and a collective feeling that moved through everyone at once like electricity. Everyone in that room received the same moment. Nobody had a better version of it to post later. It was equal, it was temporary, and it was yours. Now you walk through a world of people who have never experienced that. They were born into the feed. They learned to read and scroll at the same time. Their first memories are filtered. Their friendships are quantified. Follower counts, reaction metrics, the precise social score of every interaction measured and returned to them in real time. They don't know what they lost because they never had it. And when you try to explain it, when you say there was a time when you could sit in a room full of people and not feel completely alone, they look at you the way you might look at someone describing a color that doesn't exist. They're not cruel, they're not broken, they simply cannot imagine it. The architecture of their attention was built by engineers in California whose only job was to make sure it could never be fully satisfied. A brain shaped by that system since birth doesn't experience boredom as a doorway. It experiences half a second of stillness as an emergency. So here's where most stories like this end. They end with grief. with a narrator who sounds defeated, who looks back at the old world like a photograph that's fading, who tells you that it's gone and we should mourn it, and that's all. But that's not where this ends, because you remember, and memory is not passive. Memory is an act. Every time you put your phone down and sit with discomfort for 60 seconds, you are remembering. Every time you call instead of text, walk instead of map, look up instead of down, you are preserving something. Every time you let a moment be real and unrecorded, you are refusing to let it be processed and sold back to you as content. You cannot give the old world back to the people who never had it, but you can show them what it looked like from inside. You can be the person in the room who is fully in the room. You can have a conversation that exists only between two people and dies when it ends. You can sit with your own thoughts long enough to find out what they actually are. The old world didn't have a cure for loneliness. It didn't have a cure for boredom or confusion or the specific sadness of a Sunday afternoon with nowhere to be. It was messy and inefficient and sometimes excruciatingly slow, but it was inhabited. People lived inside their lives, not alongside them, not documenting them from a slight remove, inside, fully, with no option to step back and curate what it looked like from the outside. You are the last person who remembers what that felt like. And as long as you remember, as long as you refuse to hand that memory over to an algorithm that will flatten it into content and serve it back to you with ads attached, it isn't gone. It's just waiting. And maybe one day someone younger than you will feel it for the first time. 30 seconds of real silence, a conversation that disappears when it ends, a moment that belongs only to them, and they'll look up and they'll understand exactly what you've been carrying.